Hey folks, welcome back to Gaming Garbage, where we take a look at games, chat about the gaming news in the industry, and of course, stream for fun. Excuse my voice there. Today we're going to be taking a look at Nintendo Direct. This was about a week ago. I know I'm kind of late on this. And what was interesting too is that they called this a partnered showcase. So we'll talk about that a little bit later toward the end. So I'm going to go over the things that were the most interesting. Of course, I'm not going over everything. This will be pretty short, and then I'll just have my final thoughts at the end. So you might too hear my son in the background, and that's okay. He's just with me today, and that's why this too is going to be a short one. So first, we got to look at basically Grounded, that it's coming to Nintendo Switch, which is nice. And this is actually going to be one of the games that's going to be cross-platform, pretty much for everybody, which is wonderful. There's really not a lot of those games out there that are cross-platform. But yeah, this is going to be one of them, and it should really help the consumer base. This is also one of the Xbox games that was technically exclusive. That's now going to be coming to everybody else, and I really think this is a smart move on Xbox's part, where they'll probably have some timed exclusives. You know, they'll let games run their life cycle, and then when they're done, they'll then send them to other consoles to continue to make more money and use that money to continue to invest in Xbox and Game Pass and new projects. But yeah, Grounded looked pretty good. It's a fun survival game, surviving in the backyard. You're basically little people trying to survive and work through stuff, and it kind of reminds me of like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, which we just watched with our kids a couple of weeks ago, and that was kind of fun to revisit. A corny movie, you know, because it's in the 90s, but I just like the 90s. I grew up in it. It was so much more fun. But yeah, Grounded looks like a really fun one that will be coming out actually fairly soon. We also have Monster Hunter Stories. This was like a Nintendo 3DS or DS game, and it's coming out in summer. So we don't have like a necessarily nailed down date for this one. But yeah, this is just going to be in the summer, and it's basically going to be it looks like a port. The character models and stuff still look very kind of handheld. They don't look improved. It's not like this is a total remake, you know, and I don't even know if it's a remaster. Some of the 3DS stuff actually still looks pretty good. Maybe it's remastered a little bit, but yeah, they're just going to be porting this over to the Switch, so you guys can look forward to that this summer. Also, we're getting Epic Mickey Rebrushed. This will be sometime in 2024. My guess is the latter half. And this is actually a remake. Now, this is not a collection. This is not Epic Mickey 1 and 2. This is just the first one, and it's going to be remade. And yeah, so it's not just a remaster. They're probably going to redo some of the stuff, maybe a little bit of the level design, maybe tweak some of the controls a little bit, because, again, this was originally made for Wii. And the Switch is a totally different platform to play on, so it seems like they keep changing their controls around every few generations. And so, yeah, this will kind of have to be remade, just even on the control side. But it does look pretty good. There is a trailer out if you're wanting to take a look at it. And it does look fun. It's another going to be a fun one for kids, and too, probably for some of us to revisit, because this came out 14 years ago. Can you believe that? That's pretty wild. So again, sometime just later in 2024. We're also getting Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection. So what's wonderful is that, you know, the Battlefront Classic Collection is the original Battlefront 1 and 2 that came out in the 2000s. And this is going to be awesome because I loved growing up with these, and a lot of us others did too. If you're interested and want to play on Xbox, be sure to go ahead and let me know. You can leave a comment below this video. I'll add you to a roster list, or you can just send me a private message on Twitch at Don't Tread on Thee, and on YouTube I'm at Gaming Garbage 22. But yeah, if you're interested, it's going to be a blast, and I want to get as many members of my community as I can to be able to play, or at least have the opportunity, because we're actually going to have multiplayer this time. It's not just going to be NPCs. I do think that will be a caveat, because you can have single player, which means there's no one else in your game, so that's just NPCs, right? There is going to be co-op split screen, which is great, and you're also going to have, I believe, co-op online. And we're still going to have all of the game modes, so assault and capture the flag and hunt. We're still going to have all of those with these games. which is great. In the original Battlefront 1, we're going to get the Jabba the Hutt map, so we're also going to get basically all of the DLCs as well. Battlefront 2 is going to have the classic Bespin maps, the two of them, and also two classic Renvar maps, which those were some of the most fun to play on. And then we're also going to be getting Yavin 4 Arena, which is a wild freaking map. That map is insane to try to win on, period. That's probably the map I lose on the most, to be honest. But I'm really looking forward to this collection. It'll be fun for everybody. The thing that I feel like holds this thing back the most is that it's not cross-platform. It is going to be cross-gen. So PlayStation 4 and 5s can play together. Xbox One and Series Xers can play together. And Series S. And then just Twitch. Excuse me, Switch. Not Twitch. Switch. Apologies on that. And so I kind of feel like Nintendo is really going to be left out on this one and not able to play because they don't have any other generations to play with on this, which I think is a real bummer. But yeah, it is going to be remastered. Again, this is going to be made by Aspyr, the same folks that did the Tomb Raider 1 through 3 remaster collection. So the models are not going to be redone. The level design isn't going to be redone. It's just going to be retextured. That's going to be the remastered part. But again, the whole collection is going to be $35. It's super cheap. Something else is we are going to get heroes versus villains, and this isn't just on Tatooine, the Tatooine map. This is going to be on across all maps, which is great. I hope too they have also support third-party server so that we can actually make private servers or custom servers. If I can, I would love to do that for Gaming Garbage to be able to play with some of you guys on Xbox. And but yeah, just keep that in mind. Whatever you want to play on, make sure your friends basically have the same stuff so that you all can play together. But at least there is co-op split screen. We haven't had a split screen game in forever. So that'll be a really fun one. In the comments below, Nintendo Direct, most people were probably excited for this one. This will be on March 14th for Nintendo Switch. Okay, the next one was World of Goo 2. So at first I was skeptical about this one. This is coming out May 23rd. But you basically get an environment, kind of like Rayman, if you've played those, where it's kind of side screen, but you get to build your own structures with the goo, and you have to kind of build the structures in order to get across ledges or get up high somewhere or be able to fit down low. And it's kind of fun. The whole goal is to kind of get your goo from one end of the map to the other, but each level is different, and so you got to kind of figure that out. It's kind of a puzzle, and there's also traps. There's also some other things you got to worry about, and it's actually up to 4 players, which is crazy. That was something too I'm going to mention real quick, is that a lot of these games, even some of them I'm not mentioning today, had insane multiplayer counts, which I have to say that including Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection, it's got up to 64 players. That's going to be flipping wild. So maybe it'll just be 32 on the Switch, since it's got, softer hardware. But at least for PlayStation and Xbox, we're going to have 64 players on those maps, and that's going to be insane. We didn't have 64 last time. We had 32 last time. So double the players on the same size maps. That's going to be a wild ride, folks. Hope to see you there. But yeah, World of Goo actually looked pretty good. Again, the graphics are simple. The animation is fairly simple, but it looks interesting. And being able to play with others, especially your brothers or your friends or whatever, your sisters, it looks fun because you have to work together on building the structures with the amount of goo that you have to get from A to B. So that one actually looked fairly good. Another one that looked great was Another Crab's Treasure. This is coming out April 25th. And there's different worlds, there's different enemies, there's different shells that have different abilities. And basically the story is that you're trying to get a shell that was taken from you in the beginning of the game. And the goal is to get it back. And you run through all of these areas, run into these different bosses, all sorts of stuff. And it looks pretty fun. Actually, it's probably a game that I would at least test out and play some here on the channel. If I had a Switch. If I had a Switch. Money's just tight, folks. I'm sure we're all feeling it. But yeah, this one actually looks pretty good. So, in a way, it kind of looks like a Souls game, but it reminded me more of like Spyro the Dragon, for those of us that have played, or like Ratchet and Clank. It reminded me more of those type of games. But that one would definitely be toward the top of my list. if you're looking for something a little more mature or a little more with a higher level of difficulty, Kingdom of Deliverance, is coming March 15th. And again, this one doesn't look necessarily remastered. This one doesn't look any extra special or fancy. I don't think you get any special collection where you get all the DLCs and stuff. I think it's just the ability to buy the game and play it on Switch if you wish. But it's all first person, and so the fights are a little more immersive and in your face. But the game is kind of tough too, because you got to make decisions. You got to be a little tactical a little bit. And basically the story at the beginning is that, you know, you're in medieval times and your little town gets hit and you try to escape, and basically you rise to someone very important at the end of the game. And so this one, if you're looking for something to play that's a little more mature, I highly suggest this one. It's actually kind of fun. Some of the controls are a little bit of a learning curve. I discovered on Xbox, and this game too has been out for years already. But yeah, it's finally coming to Switch, so I think that's a good one. Also, we're going to get a new Contra. So this is going to be March 12th. A lot of stuff coming out in March, actually. This is going to be coming out March 12th. This is going to be a 2-player co-op on the same screen, side-scroller. Basically, yeah, if you've played Contra, it's a Contra game. So there's going to be bosses, there's going to be levels to work through, different enemies, different weapons too. You can go by yourself or co-op with a buddy on split screen, which is great. And this one looks action-packed. It actually looks quite fun. Next is Pentiment. This is already out, by the way. This one's already out on Twitch. And Pentiment is another game that came from Xbox. And again, I don't think this game had a really good life cycle. I think it burnt out pretty quick. I want to say it came out last year, and it hasn't even been out for 12 months yet. And it's already being ported over, and it's already kind of lived its life cycle on Xbox. But there's a lot of other stuff to play on Xbox as well. And so, yeah, this is also coming to PlayStation and to Nintendo. And this one is a side-scroller too, and it works on telling a story kind of through medieval caricatures and on paper. Yeah, it does look interesting. Not probably the most fun game. I'd probably rather play World of Goo, Battlefront, Epic Mickey, Grounded, or Another Crab's Treasure, or Deliverance. But this might be another one that might interest some of you. So yeah, this one is already out. Another, this was kind of interesting. They showed several games from Rare, and I thought, oh, here we go, Sea of Thieves. But it wasn't Sea of Thieves. I was kind of surprised by that. And Sea of Thieves also was not shown during the showcase. So I was surprised. We know that's at least coming to PlayStation, but maybe to Nintendo too? I can't honestly remember. But yeah, I was kind of surprised. I saw Rare, and we got 5 very old classic games instead. Very old. I mean, very simple, like PlayStation 1, Super Nintendo kind of stuff. And it kind of looked very, very out of place. But these are available if you're interested in them. It was so quick I couldn't even really catch the names, even though I went through and tried to get the names of them. But yeah, it just kind of looked out of place. That was kind of weird. But yeah, there was 5 very old classic games. The last one at the end looked great. This was Endless Ocean, May 2nd. And this is an exploration game in the ocean where you get to see wildlife, you get to see flora too, and then you can also run into other players while you're swimming. And we have different levels or different areas in the ocean too, where there's quite a bit of light, so you're close to the surface, and then also very, very dark, where you have a flashlight, and that is flipping it. So if you're afraid of dark spaces, maybe don't necessarily play this game. But what's cool is that the servers can have up to 30 players, and you guys can kind of explore together. You can make new friends that way. It's not co-op necessarily, I don't think. It's just you can run into other players and engage with them and stuff, which is fun. And you're even able to explore and kind of find some like mythical creatures. Some creatures that maybe aren't even around anymore, like dinosaurs and stuff like that. So yeah, the game honestly looked pretty good. Graphically, it looked good. The frame rate looked good in the game. And that one was probably the biggest one that I'd be excited for, besides Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection. I love the older Star Wars folks. So that was pretty much it. That was most of the showcase. There were, of course, some other games out there too, but a lot of these I would enjoy myself. And Nintendo Direct wasn't very long. It was about 20 to 25 minutes. You can check it out yourself if you'd like. I'll try to remember to leave a link in the description below of where I watched. And something that was interesting was that this was a partnered showcase. So we didn't really get an idea of who the partner was, but with some of the games coming from Xbox, I'm sure this was kind of keyed in with Microsoft and Xbox, and that's kind of the partnership, and they helped kind of put this together and whatever. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting. That also this wasn't. It's just kind of weird because we got like Sony becoming out on its own now, getting on its own little island, and trying to engage some with PC, which they have in the past. But again, it's like we're PlayStation, we're going to be exclusive, and now Nintendo is kind of working with Xbox, and Xbox is willing to share some of their exclusive games, which I think eventually Sony's going to come around to that too, as they have a new CEO now. Thank goodness Ryan is gone. But it just kind of feels weird to me right now, where it's like we have Xbox that's changing their business model. They've been changing it for some time. You know, we've had Game Pass since like 2016, and that's really grown a lot since we've had the lockdowns. And then now they're sharing other games and getting games onto other platforms and not really wanting to focus on the exclusivity. Nintendo, of course, isn't going to share their stuff because, I mean, they're Nintendo. They're already, you know, kind of frustrated, I'm sure, with Pocket Pair that made Pal World. Some buddies and I were just talking about this last night. Instead of playing Warzone, we played Pal World instead. And that was so fun. We had such a good time. But it's just kind of weird. It's like Sony's almost kind of becoming an island unto itself. And, well, its island is only going to get so big. There's only so many people that actually want to be on PlayStation or have a PlayStation. They have 108 million on their, you know, monthly active users right now in their PlayStation network. But that hasn't really grown in a long time. And the subscribers have pretty much stayed between 43 and 48 million. So it's just kind of weird. It's like, I don't know. It just feels weird to me. I'm not sure exactly how to put it, but watching this showcase, it's like Xbox is kind of getting their fingers into everything, and that can be problematic too. But we're not necessarily here to talk about that too much, but more or less about the showcase. So sorry about that little tangent there. One thing that was nice about this showcase was it was very quick. I mean, it was just one game right next to the other. There was no one coming on stage talking about stuff. There were no massive reveals either, which is kind of interesting. So no one coming on stage and no devs talking about upcoming games. But it was very quick. So again, it was a showcase that was less than 30 minutes. It didn't take a lot of your time. But something that seemed kind of lacking was that there was no legacy IPs. So there was no Mario, there was no Zelda, there was no Donkey Kong, no Metroid, Super Mario Kart. I mean, there was none of that. Like, we didn't have anything. And overall, it would have been okay to just skip out on the showcase. Because, again, the huge IPs that keep Nintendo making money and growing their consumer base, none of them were there. Now, some of these, of course, are good, and I'm excited, but it's not like... It's not going to make me go out and buy a Switch, right? Or get excited for Switch 2.0 in 2025. We also didn't get any talk about that either. There was no news on the Switch 2.0. There was nothing. All we know technically is that it's delayed until 2025 for a year, and yeah, just kind of interesting. And as they get closer to, you know, the launch of the other Xbox and PlayStation consoles, Nintendo's just going to feel behind again. But again, that's why they have their own IPs and they can't really sell them, because they've designed their entire platform around their exclusive titles, and they're an island unto themselves too, which is fine, and it works really, really well for them. They're doing well. I mean, they make stuff cheaper. That's why the graphics are less. That's why there's less RAM in their consoles. But they don't also have to spend a ton of money on engines to make their games, and then the IPs. You know, we're all okay with them looking cartoony, and they're fun. That's the biggest selling point for Nintendo, is pretty much all of their games are fun, and that's what sells. I think some other companies are figuring that out right now, like Rocksteady, Warner Brothers, and freaking Ubisoft. I think, and Activision Blizzard too. I think they're figuring that as like, hey, the games actually need to be fun because Helldivers 2 is totally blowing up right now. It's there's so many people wanting to play, they had to cap everybody, which is crazy. Overall, I would give this probably a high C, low B rating. Again, it wasn't perfect. Some of the trailers were just too fast to really get an idea of what was going on in the story, and it would have been nice to have that. But overall, that's basically the showcase. So again, Grounded, Monster Hunter, Stories, Epic Mickey Rebrush, Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection, World of Goo, 2, Another Crab's Treasure, Kingdom of Deliverance, Contra, Pentiment, and Endless Ocean. All of those actually looked fairly good. So if you're excited for these, which one are you excited for, if any? And did you even watch the showcase? And with that, folks, you can always follow me at Twitch at Don't Tread on Thee, and everything that I do on this channel is saved over at YouTube at Gaming Garbage 22. Check it out. So thanks for tuning in, folks. I'll see you on the next one.